Hey everyone, and welcome to this deep dive.
Yes. Oh,
We're going to be looking at the MIT Sloan Management Review's 5 tune-ups your company needs in 2025.
it's a good one.
Yeah, it is. It just came out December 26, 2024, so it's really fresh.
Hot off the presses.
Exactly. And we thought, you know what better way to kick off the new year
Yeah, get a head start.
than by looking at some of these insights from the MIT SMR columnists?
They're really like those expert mechanics who fine-tune like those Formula One race cars?
Oh, yeah,
They really know what it takes to get ahead of the curve.
absolutely. So let's just jump right in.
Let's do it.
Okay, the first tune-up is all about something called data disconnect.
Okay.
And it's this idea that so many companies invest in amazing data,
Yeah.
but then employees don't actually use it.
That's a head scratcher, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's like, what's going on?
Yeah, it really is.
So the article highlights 3 big mistakes that companies make,
Okay.
which lead to this data disconnect.
All right, I'm listening.
The first one is not clearly defining the problem
Okay.
that you're actually trying to solve with data.
You need the right tool for the job.
Exactly. It's like having this, this high-tech toolbox,
Yeah.
but then reaching for that rusty old hammer.
Yeah, why bother with the fancy tools, right?
Exactly. So it's about understanding the why behind the data.
The why, exactly. So, for example, let's say you're trying to improve customer satisfaction,
Okay.
but you're just throwing data at the problem without really understanding what's driving those satisfaction scores in the first place.
Right.
It's like trying to fix a leaky faucet with a wrench. Just the wrong approach.
It's not going to work.
Not at all.
And then the second mistake the article talks about is not making data engaging enough
Right.
for people to actually want to use it.
Yeah, it's got to be interesting.
You need to tell a story,
Oh, I like that.
maybe even gamify it a bit
Gamification, yeah.
to get people excited.
It shouldn't just be like numbers on a spreadsheet, right?
Exactly. Like, who wants to look at that all day?
No one, it should be presented in a way that like resonates with people.
Yeah.
It tells a story that makes them want to like dive in and explore further.
I love that, turning data into a story.
Yes, make it a page turner.
And the third mistake,
They lay on me.
forgetting to define what success actually looks like from the start.
Okay.
It's like setting off on a road trip without knowing where you're going.
How will you know you've arrived if you don't know where you're headed?
Exactly. You need those clear win metrics right from the get-go.
Absolutely.
Okay, so those are like the 3 big mistakes.
The big 3.
But the article also talks about the psychology behind data resistance.
Okay.
Can you explain that a bit?
Sure. So sometimes there are these like deeper reasons why people might be hesitant to embrace data.
Okay.
To make decisions based on data. It could be fear of job security,
Oh, yeah.
like they think robots are going to take over.
Right.
Or it could be this feeling that their expertise is being undermined.
Like they're being replaced.
Yeah, exactly. Or maybe they just don't trust the data itself.
Like, where did this come from?
Yeah, exactly. Who put this together?
So it's about addressing those underlying concerns
Addressing those concerns, absolutely.
and building trust.
Trust is key.
Okay, so that's data disconnect. A lot to unpack there.
A lot to think about.
Now, the article goes on to this idea of job crafting,
Okay.
which is not about asking for a raise,
No, not about that.
just to be clear.
Right.
It's about empowering employees to shape their roles
Yes, I love that.
so that they're more fulfilling
Or engaging.
and lead to less burnout.
Help people avoid that burnout.
Okay, so the article breaks job crafting down into 3 main types.
Okay, let's hear it.
There's task crafting, relational crafting, and cognitive crafting.
All right, 3 different flavors.
Yeah. Can you kind of break those down for us?
Sure, so task crafting is all about adjusting the what of your job.
The what?
Yeah, you might take on new responsibilities, or you might tweak how you do existing tasks,
Okay.
or even drop tasks that just don't play to your strengths.
You get to choose.
Kind of like, you're given a basic recipe, and then you get to add your own personal touch to make it your own.
I like that.
Yeah.
Okay, what about relational crafting?
Relational crafting that focuses on the who of your work.
The who?
Yeah, so it's about consciously building stronger connections
Okay.
with colleagues who complement your skills and make work more enjoyable.
So you get to pick your dream team.
Yeah, exactly. It's like creating your dream team within the company.
I love that.
That's relational crafting in action.
Okay, so we've got the what, the who. So cognitive crafting must be the why.
You got it, the why.
Okay.
Cognitive crafting is all about reframing how you think about your work
Okay.
to find more meaning and purpose.
So you're kind of changing your perspective.
Changing your perspective, exactly. It's about focusing on the aspects of your job that truly light you up,
Okay.
that make you feel energized.
So it's not about changing the tasks themselves.
Not necessarily. It's more about changing your mindset,
Okay, I got it.
like choosing to play your favorite song on repeat at work.
Hopefully without driving your coworkers crazy.
Right, of course.
So this all sounds great, but how do you make sure that job crafting
Yeah.
actually leads to better results?
Right.
It doesn't just become everyone doing whatever they want.
It's a great question, and it's about balance.
Okay.
It's about finding that sweet spot between individual needs and organizational goals.
Right.
So leaders can help by setting clear expectations,
Yeah.
by providing guidance and ensuring that any changes align with, the overall team and company objectives.
Gotcha. So it's about creativity.
Yes.
But within a structured environment.
Exactly. It's not about chaos.
Right.
It's about empowering people to find their flow within the context of their work.
I like that, finding your flow.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've talked about data disconnect job crafting. Now the article goes on to talk about mastery.
Mastery.
And what's really interesting is the article highlights this kind of surprising truth that practicing a skill
Okay.
might be even more important than formal training
Really?
when it comes to achieving mastery.
Interesting.
The article actually cites a recent survey
Okay.
where 52% of people said they achieve mastery through practice and repetition,
Wow.
not through fancy training programs or online courses.
It's those little things we pick up along the way.
Yeah, like those micro skills
Micro skills. I like that.
we develop over time
Yeah.
just by doing and repeating.
Yeah, like learning to ride a bike.
Yeah,
You don't read a manual for that. You just get on and try and fall and try again.
exactly. It's about embedding those micro skills into our muscle memory, so to speak.
Muscle memory. I love that analogy.
And for leaders, it's about providing those opportunities
Yeah.
for their team to practice and refine those skills.
Not just in training sessions, but in their day-to-day work.
Exactly. So it's about creating this culture of continuous learning and development
Continuous learning.
where people are encouraged to experiment,
Yeah.
to get feedback,
Mm-hmm.
and just constantly improve.
Always be improving.
And the key takeaway here is that leaders need to provide support for skill development,
Mm-hmm.
but also create ways for people to showcase their newfound mastery.
Showcase it. Yes.
Like give them a stage to shine.
Exactly. Recognition is so important.
And one of the best ways to kind of nurture skill development
Yes.
is through a robust feedback loop.
Feedback is crucial.
So it's not just about, praising successes,
Yes, right.
but also offering constructive criticism
Right.
that helps individuals pinpoint those areas for improvement.
Identify those areas. Yeah.
It's about celebrating growth, acknowledging effort, and just providing that guidance, like a great coach would do.
Like a coach. Exactly.
Okay, so we've talked about data disconnect. We've talked about job crafting. We've talked about mastering micro skills.
What's next?
What's next on our leadership tune-up list?
I'm ready.
It's something that might sound a little unexpected in a work context.
Oh, okay. I'm intrigued.
The power of play.
Play.
Now, we all know play is important for kids,
Of course.
but how does that translate to the workplace?
Yeah, that's a good question. Think back to your childhood. Play wasn't about winning or losing.
Right.
It was about exploring,
Yeah.
experimenting, and having fun.
Yeah, just pure joy.
Pure joy. And we need to bring that spirit back into the workplace.
I love that.
Especially, when we're facing these big changes and challenges,
Yeah.
like figuring out how to integrate AI into our workflows.
Right. AI is changing everything.
It really is.
So it's like giving your team a sandbox to play in,
Not sandbox.
to experiment with new tools and ideas.
Yes.
Without that fear of failure.
That's so important.
To try things out,
Yeah.
learn, and iterate.
Iteration is key.
And the benefits of play go beyond just having fun.
Oh, yeah.
Play can actually reduce stress,
That's huge.
enhance creativity,
I believe it.
and improve problem-solving skills.
So many benefits.
So it's not about goofing off.
Yeah.
It's about creating an environment where people can be their most creative and innovative selves.
Their best selves.
Okay, so we've covered data disconnect, job crafting mastery, and the power of play.
Okay, we're on a roll.
What's the final tune-up we need to address?
Hit me with it.
The final tune-up, and perhaps the most challenging one,
Okay.
is tackling what the article calls undiscussables.
Undiscussable.
These are the topics that everyone's thinking about,
Okay.
but no one wants to talk about.
Oh, I know exactly what you mean.
Every company has them.
They do.
Those sensitive issues like maybe unfair compensation,
Yeah,
lack of respect for certain leaders,
that's a tough one.
or a general lack of transparency.
Yeah, those things can really fester.
They can and create a toxic work environment if they're not addressed.
Absolutely.
So ignoring these issues won't make them go away.
No, they'll probably just get worse.
Exactly.
The article suggests some brave steps to address these undiscussables.
Like what I'm all ears.
Well, first, you need to find a way to uncover them.
Okay.
It could be through a trusted group of employees,
Okay.
maybe anonymous surveys, or even just creating a safe space where people feel comfortable speaking up.
It's all about creating that culture
Is
where people feel heard and valued.
heard and valued, exactly.
But here's the crucial part.
Okay.
Leaders can't just listen and then do nothing.
Right.
They need to take action.
Action is key.
After hearing these truths,
Walk the walk.
no more sweeping things under the rug.
Agreed.
So it's not just about creating a space for dialogue.
Right.
It's about actually addressing the concerns that are raised.
Addressing the concerns, absolutely.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive into the MIT Sloan Management Review's 5 tune-ups your company needs in 2025.
A lot of great stuff.
We've explored data disconnect, the power of job crafting, the importance of mastery, the surprising benefits of play, and the importance of tackling those undiscussables.
It's a lot to process.
It is. We'll be back in part 2 to continue this deep dive
Looking forward to it.
and explore these tune-ups in even more detail. So stay tuned.
Stay tuned.
Welcome back to our deep dive into MIT Sloan Management Review's 5 tune-ups your company needs in 2025.
Back for more.
We're picking up right where we left off, exploring those insightful tips
Those juicy nuggets of wisdom.
from those leadership gurus, the MIT SMR columnists.
They really are at the forefront, aren't they?
Yeah, always observing, analyzing, sharing those best practices.
From those companies that are really killing it.
Exactly. So in this part, I kind of want to circle back to this concept of data disconnect,
Okay.
and specifically those psychological barriers you mentioned.
Yeah, those mental roadblocks.
I think this is something a lot of leaders struggle with.
Absolutely. It's one thing to give your team access to data, but getting them to actually embrace it and use it effectively.
That's the real challenge.
It is, and often the biggest obstacles aren't technical, they're human.
It's like giving someone a fancy new smartphone,
Yeah.
but they refuse to use anything but the call function.
Like, what's the point of all that tech if you don't utilize it?
All right, so let's unpack some of these psychological barriers.
Okay, let's do it.
One common fear is that data will completely replace human judgment.
The robots are coming for our jobs.
Exactly, and lead to job losses.
Right.
So how do you address that as a leader?
Well, I think transparency and clear communication are key.
Yeah, you've got to get out in front of it.
You do. It's about emphasizing that data is a tool to augment human intelligence, not replace it.
Not replace it, it's a helper.
Exactly. Data can help us make more informed decisions, but it's still humans who provide the context, the creativity, the critical thinking.
That drives real innovation.
That special sauce.
Exactly. So it's about framing data as a helpful sidekick, not a job-stealing villain.
Love that analogy.
Another barrier is this feeling of being overwhelmed.
Oh, yeah.
We are bombarded with information these days.
Information overload.
It's so easy to feel paralyzed
Totally.
by the sheer volume of data.
Drowning in data.
So this is where data visualization and storytelling come in.
Ah, yes, the art of making data sexy.
I'm really intrigued by this idea of data storytelling.
It's powerful.
It's about making data more human and relatable, right?
It is, instead of just presenting a bunch of numbers, you present data in a way that's clear, concise, and engaging.
To tell a story.
You turn those intimidating spreadsheets into compelling narratives that people can connect with.
So instead of drowning in a sea of data, you're guiding your team through it with a compelling story.
Leading the way.
I like that. Are there any other psychological barriers leaders should be aware of?
Well, sometimes resistance to data stems from a lack of trust.
Trust issues.
Exactly. People might question the accuracy of the data,
Okay.
the methodology, or even the motives behind it.
Like, is this real or is someone trying to manipulate me?
Yeah, this is the whole story.
Okay, so how do you build trust in data?
Transparency is crucial.
Transparency, that seems to be a recurring theme here.
It really is. It's about being open and honest about the data, explain how it was collected, what assumptions were made, and what limitations exist. Acknowledge that data isn't always perfect.
Data has flaws.
It does, and sometimes you need human judgment to interpret it effectively.
So it's about striking a balance
a balance.
between data-driven insights and human intuition.
Exactly. It's not an either-or situation.
And don't forget about data literacy.
Data literacy, such a hot topic these days.
Not everyone's comfortable working with data, and some might lack the basic skills to interpret and analyze it.
It's true. Some people need a little extra help.
Investing in training can empower your team to become more confident and proficient in using data,
More data savvy.
and that can really help reduce that resistance.
Absolutely. Knowledge is power.
Okay, let's shift gears a little bit and revisit this idea of job crafting.
Job crafting.
We talked about those three types, task, relational, and cognitive.
The trifecta.
But how can you actually foster a culture of job crafting within an organization?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is. How do you make it happen?
Well, it all starts with psychological safety.
Okay, there's that word again.
It's essential your team members need to feel comfortable experimenting, taking on new challenges, and even suggesting changes.
Without fear of judgment.
Exactly. Imagine if you were constantly worried about making a mistake or being criticized for trying something new.
I wouldn't do anything new.
You'd probably just stick to what,
Stay in my lane.
even if it wasn't the best or most fulfilling way to work.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
how do you build that psychological safety?
Leaders can foster it by modeling that behavior themselves.
Okay, so walk the talk.
Walk the talk, be open to feedback, willing to delegate and empower your team to take ownership of their work.
So lead by example.
Lead by example, be the change you want to see.
But how do you prevent job crafting from becoming a free-for-all?
That's a valid concern. You don't want it to turn into chaos.
Right.
That's where clear guidelines and support come in.
Some boundaries.
Boundaries, job crafting shouldn't be a free-for-all, but a collaborative process.
Right.
It's important to establish boundaries and ensure that any changes align with your team goals and the overall company objective.
So it's like having a designated play area
A play area, I like that.
within a structured environment.
Exactly, a space for creativity within a framework.
And regular check-ins, coaching feedback can help keep those job crafting efforts on track.
Staying aligned.
And when someone successfully crafts their job and achieves those positive results,
Let's celebrate.
celebrate those wins, share those stories.
Shout it from the rooftops.
So it inspires others and shows that you value that individual initiative.
Recognition is powerful.
Okay, let's move on to mastery. We talked about the importance of practice and repetition.
Practice makes perfect.
But what does that look like in a practical sense? How can leaders create environments that truly support skill development?
It's more than just telling people to go practice, right?
It is. You've got to set them up for success.
Absolutely. It's about creating a culture of continuous learning and providing the resources and opportunities for deliberate practice.
So tell me more about deliberate practice.
It means encouraging your team to focus on specific areas for improvement, set clear goals, and actively seek feedback to refine their techniques.
So it's about being intentional,
Intentional with practice, not just mindlessly going through the motions.
like you're really focused.
Focused, laser focused. Are there any specific strategies leaders can use to encourage deliberate practice?
I'm all ears.
Well, mentorship programs can be incredibly valuable.
Okay. Connecting with more experienced people.
Connecting your team members with experienced colleagues who can provide guidance and feedback.
I see.
You could also create opportunities to shadow experts or participate in workshops and training programs.
So it's like building a learning ecosystem.
A learning ecosystem within your company where people can access the resources and support they need to develop their skills.
I love that. But practice is just one piece of the puzzle, right?
It is, you also need to create opportunities for real-world application.
Could give them a chance to use those new skills.
Give your team members the chance to use those skills in a meaningful context.
Got it.
This could involve project-based learning job rotations or stretch assignments.
So bridge that gap between theory and practice.
Bridge the gap, exactly. Give people the chance to apply their skills in real-world scenarios.
Because that's where the real learning happens.
That's where the magic happens.
And remember that mastery is a journey, not a destination.
A journey.
Encourage a growth mindset where individuals are constantly seeking new challenges and pushing themselves beyond their comfort zones.
Always be growing.
It's about fostering a culture of continuous learning and development where individuals are empowered to become the best versions of themselves.
The best versions.
Okay, moving on to a topic that I was really curious about earlier, play.
Play.
We often associate play with childhood,
Of course.
but how can we bring that sense of playfulness into the workplace
That's a good question.
without it feeling forced or inappropriate?
Yeah, you don't want it to feel awkward.
Exactly.
It's about finding ways to integrate play into the work environment in a way that feels authentic and beneficial.
Okay.
It starts with understanding the different types of play and how they can be applied in a professional setting.
Okay, so what are the different types of play?
Well, there's object play, which involves interacting with physical objects
Okay,
in a creative and exploratory way.
I see.
Think about building a prototype out of Legos or brainstorming ideas on a whiteboard.
Using those tangible objects.
Tangible objects to spark ideas and encourage collaboration.
Okay, I like that.
Then there's social play, which is all about interacting with others in a playful and spontaneous way.
So the human connection.
The human connection, team-building activities, brainstorming sessions, or even just casual conversations.
Water cooler talk.
Water cooler talk that allow for humor and lightheartedness all fall under this category.
So building those connections and camaraderie.
Exactly, those moments of connection that can make work more enjoyable and productive.
I like it. What's the last type of play?
And finally, there's fantasy play,
Fantasy play.
which involves using our imaginations to create scenarios and explore possibilities.
I like that.
This can be incredibly powerful in a work context as it allows us to step outside of our usual ways of thinking.
Think outside the box.
Think outside the box and come up with innovative solutions.
Unleashing that childlike sense of wonder.
Wonder and possibility.
It's like anything is possible.
Anything is possible with fantasy play.
But I imagine not all play is created equal.
You're right, not all play is good play.
What do you mean?
Forced competitive play can actually have the opposite effect,
It's okay.
leading to stress and anxiety.
It can backfire.
So how do you create an environment where play feels natural and beneficial?
Yeah, I'm curious about that too.
It's about finding that sweet spot where play is spontaneous, enjoyable, and conducive to creativity and learning.
Play with a purpose.
Play with a purpose, create a culture where it's safe to experiment, take risks, and even fail without fear of judgment.
So you can just let go and have fun.
Let go and have fun, embrace the joy of exploration and discovery.
I like that.
Play should be about fostering a sense of curiosity, wonder, and experimentation.
When you can create that kind of environment,
Yeah.
amazing things can happen.
The sky's the limit.
Okay, let's move on to our final tune-up, tackling those undiscussables.
The elephant in the room.
We talked about how important it is to address these sensitive topics,
Those tough conversations.
but it can be a daunting task for leaders.
It can be intimidating.
Where do you even begin?
It's like wading into a minefield.
It is, you're dealing with potentially sensitive issues, strong emotions, and the fear of making things worse.
It's a delicate balance.
But as we discussed earlier, ignoring these issues will only compound the problem.
It's like trying to sweep dirt under a rug. It's just going to pile up.
Exactly. So how do you create a culture where it's safe to bring up these difficult conversations?
It starts with building trust.
Trust and psychological safety.
You want your team to feel confident that they can speak up without fear of retribution or negative consequences.
So they know they won't be punished for speaking their minds.
Exactly. And this means leaders need to be vulnerable themselves, admit their own mistakes, and model open and honest communication.
Lead by example.
Lead by example. It's about creating a space where it's okay to disagree, challenge assumptions, and voice concerns constructively.
So healthy debate is encouraged.
Healthy debate is encouraged. It's how we grow and learn.
And it's not just about creating a space for dialogue.
It's about actively seeking out those undiscussables.
Going on a treasure hunt for awkward conversations.
Exactly. Leaders need to be proactive in soliciting feedback, conducting anonymous surveys, and creating multiple channels for employees to share their concerns.
So give them a voice.
Give them a voice without fear of judgment.
And make it clear that these conversations are welcome.
Welcome and encouraged.
And when those undiscussables do surface, what's the best way to handle them?
That's the real test of leadership, isn't it?
It is.
The key is to listen attentively.
Really listen.
Really listen. Acknowledge the concerns and take concrete steps to address them.
Actionable steps.
This might involve changing policies, providing additional training, or simply having open and honest conversations to clear the air.
So it's not enough to just listen. You have to act.
Action is key. You have to show that you're taking those concerns seriously.
It's about demonstrating that employee feedback is valued and that the organization is committed to creating a positive and inclusive work environment.
A workplace where everyone feels heard, respected, and valued.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground in this second part of our deep dive.
Lots of great insights.
We delved deeper into data disconnect, explored practical strategies for fostering job crafting and mastery, and discussed the power of play and the importance of addressing those undiscussables.
Phew. I'm exhausted just thinking about it all.
It's a lot to process, but it's been a fascinating conversation.
It really has.
Welcome back to the Deep Dive.
It feels like we've been on this incredible journey.
Yeah, exploring all these fascinating leadership insights.
From the MIT Sloan Management Review's 5 tune-ups your company needs in 2025.
Unpacking all that wisdom.
I feel like we've given our leadership toolbox a serious
A
upgrade.
total makeover.
But before we wrap up, I want to touch on one more thing that really stood out to me.
Okay, I'm listening. The article also talks about these things called leadership loads.
Leadership load.
And I think it's something every leader out there can relate to.
Oh, absolutely. Those challenges that seem to just keep piling up.
It's like trying to juggle flaming torches while riding a unicycle on a tightrope.
And in a windstorm.
Yeah, it's not easy. And Melissa Swift, the author, she points out that these leadership loads have become even more challenging
Yeah.
with all the recent disruptions and changes
So many changes.
in the workplace.
It's a whole new world out there.
Like take the shift to hybrid work, for example.
Oh, yeah. That's a big one.
It's given us so much flexibility, but it's also made it harder to connect with our teams,
Definitely.
to build those strong relationships.
And create that sense of shared purpose when everyone's not always in the same room.
Right. It's like trying to conduct an orchestra
I love that analogy.
where half the musicians are playing remotely.
You need a whole new set of skills to make that work.
It's a whole different ballgame, and then there's the information overload.
Oh, don't even get me started.
It's everywhere,
It's like drinking from a fire hose.
trying to filter out the impurity.
Exactly what's real, what's not.
And then, of course, there's the constant battle for focus.
Our attention spans are dwindling.
It's like trying to meditate.
In a room full of puppies.
Cute, but so distracting.
Exactly. And all of this takes a toll on leaders.
It does.
It can lead to burnout.
Yeah, feeling overwhelmed and ineffective.
Exactly. So the article talks about the importance of self-care for leaders. And
Self-development.
it's not about being selfish.
Yeah.
It's about taking care of yourself so you can show up as your best self for your team.
You can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. So how can these 5 tune-ups we've been discussing help leaders deal with these leadership loads? They seem pretty heavy.
They do. It's like we're adding more weight to an already full plate.
But here's the thing. These tune-ups are like tools to help you manage that weight more effectively.
Okay, I like that.
Let's start with data disconnect. By empowering your team to use data effectively, you're essentially freeing yourself up to focus on those higher-level strategic tasks.
It's like delegating the navigation to your GPS so you can focus on enjoying the ride.
Exactly, and making sure everyone gets to the destination safely.
And job crafting allows your team to find more meaning in their work,
More autonomy, more engagement.
which can lead to less burnout.
Happier, more productive teams.
It's a win-win for everyone.
Absolutely. And then there's mastery. By cultivating a culture of mastery, you're giving your team the skills and knowledge they need to navigate those complex challenges.
To thrive in a world that's constantly changing.
Exactly. You're equipping them to become expert problem solvers and innovators.
They can adapt to whatever comes their way.
And let's not forget about play.
Play is so important.
It can create a more positive and engaging environment,
I can.
which can reduce stress, boost creativity, and improve collaboration.
A playful workplace is a more innovative workplace.
Absolutely. And finally, by addressing those undiscussables head on, you build trust.
And open communication,
You create a more inclusive and equitable workplace,
where everyone feels heard.
respected and valued no matter where they're working from.
So as we wrap up this deep dive into MIT Sloan Management Review's 5 tune-ups,
It's been quite a journey.
I want you to think about which tune-up resonated most with you.
Which one are you most excited to implement?
And how can these insights help you address those leadership loads you might be carrying?
It's all about finding the right tools and strategies
Remember, leadership is a continuous journey.
of learning growth and adaptation.
So keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading.
Until next time.
We'll see you on the next deep dive.